Ladies and gents, welcome to CG Reaction, and this is Countries with Way Fewer People Than You Think by the channel RealLifeLore. Yes, another great topic. I love topics like this from RealLifeLore. It's gonna be fun. Yeah, countries with way fewer. Canada has to be top of that. Because one of the videos, I don't know which video, from Internet Historian or something, or CGP Grey, I don't know. One of the videos I saw where said, Canada's population is like 60 million or something, and that just like, what the hell, it surprised me. Because when you think of Canada, you don't think of that it's a small country. It's not a small country. You don't think that it's any poorer. It's not poor. It's rich enough. You think as a British version of USA. That's what you think when you think of Canada, because USA Canada is close to each other. Canada is even bigger than USA with land mass. So you just think that Canada is going to be somewhat like 200-300 million at least, since USA is about 400 million or something. So you think like seeing the land, seeing how rich enough they are. Yeah, so I feel like about 200-300 million, but then I learned like 60 million. I'm like, what the hell? This big of a Canada, what? Most of it's empty? That surprised me. So I think that should be here. I don't know if it's going to be here or it was just my thing, but I'm pretty sure that should be here. Alright, let's watch this one. Remember people, if you like my reaction, don't forget to like and subscribe. Check out the reaction I did. There's a link in the description. Check out the cards for the playlist, like Real Life Lore reaction playlist I created. All my reaction about Real Life Lore, Caucasus in a nutshell, Internet Historian, Salmonella, CGP Grey, things like that. And yeah, this is Real Life Lore video. It might get blocked, even though the latest videos are not getting blocked, but it might get blocked, so I have to put checkered box there. So I guess we'll see. Alright, let's watch this one.
This video was made possible by Ting Mobile. Get $25 off your cell phone bill by visiting rll.ting.com. This is the most common map of the world that we're used to seeing in schools and on Google Maps, but it doesn't tell the entire story of which countries are actually the biggest or even the most influential. We're used
Yeah, you did that video about which countries are actually bigger.
to only seeing countries in terms of the geographic space they occupy, which makes countries like Canada, Russia, Australia, Brazil, or even the United States seem really big. And while they are in terms of land, they're really not so much in terms of population, at least when compared with other places. Some small countries have huge populations, while some big countries have tiny ones, and the differences can sometimes be completely baffling. For example, this small island in Indonesia called Java is home to more people than the entire country of Russia, and yet it's difficult to conceptualize this on just a mere geographic map like we're currently looking at right now. In order to visualize how big
many?
or small a country or place is in terms of people, we have to look at a radically different map, like this one.
Look at the India, how big it is, look at that.
That was created by Visual Capitalist back in 2018. The link to this map is going to be linked down in the description if you want to go check it out.
Look at Canada. Because of population, it doesn't even exist. Look at that, it's thin line.
And see for yourself. Each country's size on the map is directly proportional to its human population. They are all made up of squares, and one square is equal to 500,000 people. The map contains a total of 15,266 squares that truly show where all of the world's 7.633 billion people live across the world like you've perhaps never seen before. Let's start by taking a look at North America, and specifically, the tiny strip that is now Canada. Canada's 74 squares are indicative of her population of only 37 million people, which is
I thought it was 60 million. What? It's 37 million? That's even smaller than I thought. This is ridiculous.
vastly smaller than either the United States or Mexico. But going even
Tenth
further,
of it.
Canada has a smaller population than Poland, and even has a smaller population than just the US state of California alone.
Damn.
When the United States was declared independent in 1776, her population was only about 5 of these squares, or 2.5 million people, roughly equivalent to the modern-day population of Lithuania. But in the centuries since then, the United States population has exploded to become the third largest in the entire world at 326.8 million. More than 1 in 10 Americans live in California, America's most populous state, which has 16 times the population that the entire United States had in 1776. Despite being the largest in land, Alaska is the 48th smallest state in population with just a bit more than a single square, compared with
that's not
Hawaii's
surprising.
3. Down south, Mexico has nearly 3 times the population of Spain and is by far the world's largest Spanish-speaking country. Central America and the Caribbean have a lot more people than a lot of us probably think as well.
I remember Fox News's headline, all Spanish-speaking countries are Mexican countries. That's what they say, Mexican countries. All Spanish-speaking countries, Mexican countries.
Guatemala's population alone is roughly equivalent to the Netherlands, and combined, Central America's population is also greater than Spain's. Brazil is the Jupiter of the South American continent. Brazil's population is nearly the same as the rest of South America's population all combined. And while she began
Brazil
as
is
a
big,
colony
though.
of Portugal, Brazil's population is now over 20 times larger than Portugal's. But even as
21
huge as
times.
Brazil's population is when compared with the rest of South America, it's only the world's 6th and soon-to-be 7th largest. The country that will soon be overtaking Brazil is just across the Atlantic over in Africa. Nigeria. Nigeria's population has ballooned to 196 million people today, making it by far the most populous state of Africa. Nigeria's population is larger than Germany, France, and Spain all combined, and it's
200
projected
million,
that by
that's a
the
lot.
end of the 21st century, Nigeria will overcome Brazil,
I didn't know any African country had 200 million population, but yeah.
Pakistan, Indonesia, and even the United States to become the world's 3rd most populous country. But other parts of Africa are fascinating under a population map too. Let's begin with Libya, which seems to get a lot of attention in the news and is a very well-known place, despite only having a population of 6.5 million people, which is less people than even live in Serbia. Put another way, Libya has about the same population as the US state of Minnesota, but has about 7 times more land. But that's not even the most shocking country here, because both Namibia and Botswana have tiny populations relative to their geographic size too. Namibia is roughly the size of Pakistan, but with the population of Albania, while Botswana is bigger than France, but with about as many people as Slovenia. South Africa's population dominates the entire southern third of Africa, and it's pretty easy to see how the top 3 African economies are Nigeria, Egypt, and South Africa based simply on population. While not in the
Yeah.
top 3 African economies,
Nigeria 200 million, that's, I didn't know, that was surprising. Egypt 100 million makes sense. Yeah, South Africa is also fine, I guess.
Ethiopia is also considerably
Whoa.
larger than most people think it is, with a population of 107.5 million, roughly half of Brazil's population. While smaller than Ethiopia, Uganda also has a much larger population than its geographic shape on the map would suggest, at 44.3 million, which is more people than South Sudan, Chad, the Central African Republic, and Rwanda all combined, and roughly equivalent to the population of Spain. It's also interesting to note that today, the center of the Arab world's population isn't even in the Middle East, but North Africa. The Arab states of North Africa are home to 242 million people, while the Arab states of the Middle East are only home to 164 million in comparison. Iran is Western Asia's most populous country with 82 million people, significantly more than double the population of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, it's not surprising 82 million Iran makes sense, I guess.
Despite being incredibly influential on the world stage and having a lot of land, Saudi Arabia is actually a fairly small country population-wise.
Influence has nothing to do with the population, it's just because what they have. Oil, that's the influence right there.
Iran and Turkey both have substantially more people, and despite being smaller in geographic land, Iraq has more people too, while Yemen is incredibly close and has significantly more people than next door Oman. However, the biggest population in the Middle East and the Arab world is centered in Egypt, which is home to nearly 100 million people, or roughly 3 times the population of Saudi Arabia. The Greater Cairo metropolitan area alone has a higher population than all of Syria. Nearby Israel is also in
Cairo, I think, the city of Cairo. That's just ridiculous. When I saw the photo of it, you could see the Great Pyramids in the distance from the city of Cairo. That's just, I'm pretty sure that is on, right? Yeah, city of Cairo. From there, you could see Great Pyramids. That's just so epic when you see it.
incredibly densely populated for its size, with even more people than the substantially bigger Libya. And over in the Caucasus, Azerbaijan is the dominant force, with more people than Armenia and Georgia combined and over 3 times Armenia's population alone. Meanwhile, the European part of Turkey, while small in land, still has a population of 11 million people, which means that if it was its own country, excluding the whole population of Turks over in Anatolia, European Turkey would still be the continent's 14th most populous, with more people than Greece or the Czech Republic. Europe's population
And it's putting emphasis that it's a 14th. Okay, that's not that much population. Come on.
in general is still larger than all of North America's combined, but it's still small compared with either Africa's or Asia's populations. Russia is Europe's most populous country, but not by very much. Despite being the world's largest country by land, there are many, many significantly smaller
Wait a minute. Britain has more population, right? I think 150 plus. I don't know.
countries that are home to more people that are pretty surprising, like Bangladesh, Nigeria, and Indonesia. European Russia itself is only home to 110 million people, and Europe's next most populous country is Germany, which is home to 82.3 million people, which is about 75% of European Russia's population. Germany and Turkey have very similar populations, while the Netherlands is massively crowded for its size. The 17 million people who live in the Netherlands is more than the combined populations of both Sweden and Norway. Scandinavia itself is incredibly sparsely populated. Denmark has more people
That's
than Norway, while all of Scandinavia combined has less people than the Low Countries of the Netherlands and Belgium. It's also clear to see how England's population is able to dominate the rest of the United Kingdom and even Ireland. England's population is dramatically larger than Scotland, Wales, and Ireland all combined. In fact, it's roughly 5 times larger than all the other countries in the United Kingdom put together. This means that universal opposition to something in Scotland, Wales, and Northern Ireland could be easily ignored if just a moderate majority of the English population supports it. Further, the island of Great Britain has more than 9 times the population of the island of Ireland. To put all of that into perspective, England's population is comparable to Italy, while Scotland is equal to Slovakia. Wales is equal to Lithuania, and Northern Ireland is equal to just Slovenia. Combined, the UK's population is even larger than France, while England on its own has nearly 10 million more people than all of Spain has, despite being much smaller in land. In the grand scheme of things, it's clear to see that Western Europe has a substantially larger
What? He didn't have number? Why didn't he say the number there?
population than Eastern Europe has. Western Europe is home to 402 million people, while Eastern Europe is home to 345 million. But that isn't including the Asian part of Russia, which, while on a geographic map seems huge, seems equally tiny on this population map since it's only home to 34 million people. To put that into perspective, there are more people living in a city than living in the entirety of Asian Russia.
All right. I like this channel, alright, but I'm gonna be honest, this video could have been shorter. Some of the stats is saying that it's surprising. 14 big, it's not surprising, man, come on. Some of the stats are not surprising. Canada was surprising. Some of the countries of Africa having 200 million or so, population, that was surprising. All the other stats is saying he's putting emphasis on that. It's not really surprising, yeah, so this video could have been shorter. Some of these stats are like meh. Or at least it's to me, I don't know.
And that city is Tokyo, home to over 38 million people. The sheer scale of Tokyo as a city is difficult to comprehend, but I'll do my best. Besides just the Asian part of Russia, there are more people who live in Tokyo than live in Australia, North Korea, or even Canada. Put in another way, Tokyo's population is very similar to the entire combined population of Oceania, which is 0.5% of the entire human population in one city. Japan's population as a whole is similar to the population of Russia, while right next door, South Korea's population is more than double that of North Korea's. And right next door to there is the world's most populous country, China, home to 1.415.
South Korea is thriving a lot. Seoul and all the companies coming out of South Korea, of course the population is high. North Korea on the other hand, yeah, it makes sense.
Billion people. China is home to over 18% of the human population, and it absolutely dwarfs almost every other country around it. Mongolia and Asian Russia just appear as tiny little blips right next to it. Mongolia is the world's 18th biggest country by land area, roughly the same size as Iran, but with a population of only 3 million people. The Beijing metropolitan area in China alone has roughly the same population as the entirety of North Korea, while Hong Kong might be 163 times smaller in land area than Sweden is, but their population sizes are incredibly similar. In fact, Hong Kong's population is even bigger than a lot of countries are, like Norway, Denmark, Bulgaria, and even Libya. This is all in a space that's roughly the same size as Luxembourg is in Europe. China has
Yeah, some of the cities like Tokyo and even Hong Kong, Beijing, he's saying that it has more population than some countries. Then, talks about country which is, basically lots of empty land. So it's not really surprising. These are major cities. Of course, there are more people there.
a higher population than all of Europe has combined times 2. But not far behind that is India, the world's second most populous nation that is rapidly catching up to China with 1.354 billion people. When combined, more than 1 out of every 3 humans alive on the planet live in either China or India.
So yeah, not billion, now it's 1.3 billion. Isn't that something? Seriously, has to do something about population, man. That's way too much. China probably did something about population. That's why we are catching up to China. But yeah, that is just ridiculous. India is full of population. It's not big. Okay, first I thought China's way too big than India, but then I realized lots of that is inaccessible, mountains and things. But still, India is not that big for that population. This is a massive issue right here.
You could fit the entire population of the United States into India 4 times over again and still have room left over for more. India's most populous state, Uttar Pradesh, has the combined populations of
Wait a minute, isn't US's population 390 something million? I thought it was, right? Or is it 300? I don't know.
Russia, Canada, Australia, New Zealand, and Austria. Bangladesh has a really huge population for her size at 166 million people, which is more than Germany, the UK, and the Netherlands all combined. But the world's most populous Islamic country is Indonesia, with nearly 267 million people. To put that into perspective, if you subtract Turkey and Egypt from this equation, then Indonesia has a higher population than the entire rest of the Middle East combined. Inside of Indonesia is the island of Java, which is the world's most heavily populated island. And as mentioned previously, Java's population is even greater than that of all.
Yeah, but Indonesia is not that small, man. Indonesia is huge enough, so that population number is not that bad. It's fine. 250 million for that kind of landmass is fine.
All of Russia's. And finally, we arrive at Australia, an entire continent that's only home to less than 25 million people. There's a lot of ways to put that small population into context. 2 US states have a greater population than Australia, California and Texas. There are 3 cities in the world that currently have a higher population than the entire Australian continent: Tokyo, Delhi, and Shanghai, with many more like Sao Paulo, Mexico City, Cairo, Mumbai, and Beijing rapidly approaching. Australia is insanely underpopulated for its size, and
yeah, but most of the Australia is not livable, outbacks and things. I think only the edges are the livable, I'm pretty sure. So, yeah.
there are dozens of countries across the world that are smaller but have bigger populations. The most shocking to me is probably North Korea, which has just a bit over 1 million more people than Australia's got. And perhaps as equally as shocking is the
For him, the shocking number is North Korea. Dude, the living conditions there. Of course, the population is low. Come on.
island of Taiwan, which has a very similar population to the continent of Australia. In my mind, these have been some of the most shocking, direct comparisons between countries of different population sizes. But allow me to show you a presentation of the world's top 50 most populous nations in order so you can really see for yourself how big or small some countries in the world are compared with one another. Here is China, followed up by India, and then a dramatic plunge down to the United States, followed up by Indonesia, and then Pakistan, then Brazil, Nigeria, Bangladesh, Russia, Mexico, Japan, Ethiopia, the Philippines, the Democratic Republic of the Congo, Egypt, Vietnam, Iran, Turkey, Germany, France, the United Kingdom, Thailand, South Africa, Tanzania, Italy, Myanmar, South Korea, Colombia, Kenya, Spain, Argentina, Algeria, Sudan, Uganda, Ukraine, Iraq, Canada, Poland, Morocco, Uzbekistan, Saudi Arabia, Peru, Afghanistan, Malaysia, Angola, Ghana, Mozambique, Yemen, Nepal, and finally, at 50th place, Venezuela. I'm sure that a lot of these countries are probably a lot smaller than you might have thought. But
Canada.
there's something else that you might think is really big, but could actually be a lot smaller. And that would be your phone bill, and T-Mobile can help. I personally just switched to T.
Yeah, people go to ting.com as rll.ting.com. Yeah, go to that website, support this channel. Yeah, Canada one is the most surprising to me. Everything else is, yeah, some of them was surprising. I thought, US's population was near 400 million. It's not. It's, I think, 300 or something, huh? And also, I don't know which video was that, but 150 something million was UK's population, but apparently that's not the case either. So some of the information that I had were completely false. Yeah, that's not surprising either. So yeah, but one thing surprised me that I didn't know, which is kind of embarrassing, is about my own country. I thought we would be around 1 billion, but no, we are catching too close to the China. That's a massive fucking issue right there. Somebody need to address it, seriously. Alright, if you like my reaction, don't like, subscribe, check out the reaction, there's a link in the description, check out the cast for the playlist, check out the end cards, and yeah, I'll see you next time.